broke a record for solving all.
I don't care if I see it.
Or you
Well,
use.
it's okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll do that.
God, I can't believe I can't remember his last name. It's terrible. I guess I am 79. I can't remember his last name.
All right.
Ooh.
Thank you guys for being here, both in person and online. As always, the caveat is the people in person do get asked questions. We do that on purpose. Preferential treatment to our shower uppers. No, that's proper English there. Tonight's talk, why we get worse before we get better. And we said that on purpose. So we're going to get into what's actually happening, why we may feel symptoms, and we're actually getting better. We're going to go down that path. As always, please keep an open heart and an open mind. My goal with all these educational workshops is to empower you to get better, but then you have the knowledge. You'll have the flame to be able to help others. So my hope and my prayer is that you take what you've learned, move that on to somebody else that you meet anywhere in your life, for your travels, for your day. So first off, I want to start with, we have all been given a lie. And the lie that we've all been told is, if you have symptoms, you're sick. And where have we learned it? We've learned it literally everywhere from school, where you have symptom, take medicine, to have this symptom, take this drug. We learn it repeatedly on television and through different people all the time. And what I need you to understand is, a symptom is your body's way of telling you you have something going on. It's not good. It's not bad. It's literally a warning sign. And if it's really bad, you might not even feel anything. You might not get any symptoms. So symptoms do not tell us healthy or bad. They just tell us your body is doing something, warning us that something should get better. Something should get fixed. The difference is that when you deal with somebody who's a vitalist and a holist like myself, is that I know the body's smart. The opposite camp believes that the body is stupid and the genes will fall apart and you're just going to fall apart. You're just a broken machine. That's not how we look at you. We see you as smart, have intelligence. The problem is that if you've just been bombarded with stress, chemical, emotional, and physical, you can get stuck in stress response. And then you get stuck making the wrong things happen. Is this making sense? So what we want to look at is what's really going on. Why are we having these issues? And where I'm going to go tonight is I'm going to try to get all three things that we're going to talk about, but I'll definitely get to 1 and 2. So we're going to talk about cathartic releases. I know you've heard about that in the office. We're going to talk about what that actually is. Why does it happen? What is the body actually doing? We're also going to talk about muscle adaptation, soreness or pain. And we're also going to talk about Herxheimer reactions or Herxheimer reactions. Herxheimer. Herxheimer reactions. And this is related to bacterial, viral, and parasitic removal in your body and what happens with that. So that's where we want to go. I can guarantee 2, we might even get 3. So with that being said, I'm going to go over one of the basic things that we always go over. But for any new people, I'm going to go over it again and again and again. So we're going to go over brain waves. So when we look at the brain from the side, there are different brain waves. We're going to talk about theta, alpha, and beta. Theta is 3.5 to 8. Alpha is 8 to 12, and beta is 13 to 38. Why am I telling you that? These are the frequencies that determine how your brain is seeing things. Each nerve can fire at all of these frequencies. Why am I not talking about gamma and delta? Gamma is a euphoric state that most people don't get into, and that's above here. That's 39 to, depending on the researcher, 52 to 200, depending on the researcher. And then delta is deep sleep, repairing your body. Theta is going to be more about repairing your mind and processing. And then delta is going to be actually about repairing your body. So are we doing good so far? So we got the frequencies. We know the frequencies. Now we're going to get into what actually happens in the body with these different frequencies and where they happen. So what I'm going to show you is different areas. We're going to be going over cathartic releases, emotional expression. So what we're going to look at is the back of the brain and the top of the brain. So this would be your O1 training, O2, OZ. This would be your CZ, your C3, your C4. Are we good on those areas? Perfect. Do you want me to say it again, or are we good? So basically, occipital lobe and motor cortex. And what we're looking for is the ability for the body to process a stress. Now, how can that stress come in? What are the stressors we experience? We experience chemical, physical, and emotional. If you have chemical stress, it usually takes between 3 to 6 months to process that out. If you have physical stress, it will take anywhere between, if it's just not physical trauma, but stress, it can be a couple weeks to a month. If it's trauma, that's linked to emotional, and this emotional one can take a lifetime, depending on how quickly you process through it. So we see different aspects show up in our life and how people deal with stressors. So what is a common stress management technique that we see in North America? Consumption of alcohol. So alcohol is a stress management technique because when you consume alcohol, you make more slow frequencies. And when you make more slow frequencies, you feel calmer. Have you ever noticed, though, when some people consume alcohol, they get really angry? And other ones get really lovey-dovey? That's the underlying stress and what they're dealing with. So if they get really angry, they have an underlying emotional stress that they haven't processed through. If they get really lovey-dovey, then they don't have any underlying issue. When we look at this, the area that is predisposing you to self-medicating is this area, the back of the brain. And what we look at is a theta over beta ratio. The theta over beta ratio should be 1.8 to 2.2. Where do most people come in? I usually see people around 0.9 to 1.1. That's usually where I see people coming in. So they're stressed. The back of the brain won't shut up. This is subconscious. This is where we're dealing with life. This is the brain chatter that never shuts up. That's this. Thinking about every possible thing. Now, females have it a little more because they got more white matter, so they have more connections. They have more brain chatter. Guys will get it too, though. So the more this is stressed out, the more brain chatter you get. This is also where addictions come from. So you consume alcohol, makes your brain make more theta, you feel calm. You consume television or screen time or video games, more theta, you feel calm. Making sense? So that's the back of the brain. What we can see, though, is remember we were talking about the frequencies? Theta, though, in the back of the brain is subconscious, and alpha equals memory. So what do we see when somebody has a cathartic release? We will literally see this. So T is going to mean theta, and A is gonna mean alpha. And you're gonna see theta really, really high. You're gonna see alpha low, and then it'll start coming up. Theta will actually go up higher. And this is a protective mechanism, your body not wanting to have you deal with whatever emotional trauma, usually emotional, that you've dealt with. When you have the breakthrough, this is what will happen. Theta will be here, alpha will actually break above theta. And then we'll usually see a rebound when theta goes above. But when alpha breaks theta, the number, the value, that's when the release will happen. Because that means we have now allowed the subconscious to come to the ability for the conscious to be released. So what is this? This is your cathartic release. Your doc, what does this word mean? This means crying, old memories. This means old feelings. This means any number of things. Does it mean you express it or experience it at the time of the training? Yes and no. So this is why when you first came in, I spent 5 minutes talking about it, but I know it was really overwhelming on the first day, so I decided we should talk about it again. So when we see theta at say 4, and then alpha is going along at let's say 2, spikes to 5, then comes back down, and theta just sits there at 4. That is a cathartic release. That is a breakthrough. This is the subconscious coming out. This is the emotions coming up. Now, here is the really, really cool thing about doing neurofeedback. The research shows your brain actually becomes more adept, and it will only let this happen when you're ready to deal with it. So it's not, it's going to come up when you can't handle it. No, it will literally only come up when your intelligence, your body's intelligence says you're ready. What does that mean? That means you have the reserves, you have the capacity, you are able to actually deal with it. Oh, I forgot to say, anybody online, please type in your name in the bar for Miss Riley so she'll know who you are. First name and last initial is what we need. Sorry, I didn't do my bookkeeping in the beginning. Please do this so you can get credit because we don't know Joe's cell phone, who that is. We need the last name, like the last initial. All right, so theta coming along, high. Alpha comes up, comes back down. What we should see in the back of the brain is alpha is actually higher than theta. Alpha should be higher than theta the whole time. So what is alpha in the back of the brain? It is long-term memory. What is alpha in the top of the brain? Short-term memory. Short-term memory, 20 seconds or less. Long-term memory, more than 20 seconds. So we're storing it. We're going through that homunculus. We're going through all those areas. So the takeaway is this. When this frequency, alpha, breaks theta, you will experience the memory that is causing you to not heal. Usually repressed, because when we see this inverted like it is, where theta is higher than alpha, this tells me we have experienced trauma and we are suppressing something because we don't want to deal with it, and we're keeping it in our subconscious. And as a byproduct, we will also run a frequency higher than that called beta at a high level, 2 to 3 times bigger than it should be. And that's why that ratio, theta over beta, is not where we want it to be. So the takeaway is this. When that alpha frequency goes above the theta one, old memories, old feelings, old emotions will come up, as well as old trauma can come up. This shows up for most people as crying that lasts for hours to maybe a day or two after the breakthrough. And it's you actually relieving the stress. You don't even need to talk about it. Your brain knows what it's doing and will just let it go. You can, if anything comes up. But the cool thing is with the neuro, you actually get the frontal lobe strong enough where it can process through. So why do I feel worse, doc? Why do I feel like everything's getting worse? Because you're getting to the point where you're getting rid of the actual underlying trauma that you haven't released. Make sense? Any questions on that? I don't know if I can get the other two. I'm gonna try. I really wanted to go into this because people will call us and go,
I was trying to see.
must not be working. No, it's literally doing exactly what it should be doing. Remember, how you feel doesn't tell me how healthy you are. Example, we all go out, we all eat sushi. It's all contaminated. All of you start getting deathly sick and vomiting, and I don't. The people who get deathly sick and vomit are actually removing the toxin. The one who doesn't is actually the sick one.
I don't know, where does it say?
Hi, Grandma Bucci. So that means how we feel does not tell us how healthy we are. Another example, we got cancer. One day we feel healthy. Next day we don't. Does that mean one day we're healthy and the other day we're not? No. You got a problem. Make sense? So your symptom doesn't tell me how healthy you are. I want you to feel good. Don't get me wrong, but your symptom doesn't tell me how healthy you are. Your brain does. Your blood work does. Not how you feel. That doesn't tell me how healthy you are. If, let's say, we're regrowing a nerve, and I've had this before. I had a lady who literally had surgery done on the side of her body and had a nerve cut. And by taking care of her, we moved the rib and started having the nerve regrow. She literally started feeling pain, and it was shooting pain for a week. But she understood that that was where the surgery was, and it was regrowing back. And she got excited because then all the feeling came back. Half of her breast and the side of her rib the feeling came back. So it came back, but it hurt when it came back, and then she could actually feel it again. And if we went based on symptoms, oh no, that's bad, it's getting worse, we better numb it. No, because if you can't feel it, you can't heal it. So if your body can't feel its ankles, it can't heal them. So the next one we're going to get into, if we don't have any questions on the cathartic release one, is going to be the muscle one. Now, everything I explained for the long-term memory is exactly what happens in the short-term memory as well. When alpha breaks theta, the emotional release will happen. The same thing that happens though at the top of the brain, right up here at the very top, is the motor cortex. If the motor cortex and the little brain, the cerebellum, are weak, what they do, their protective mechanism is they make the muscles tighter to try to tell the brain what's going on. Why does this happen? In the muscles, there are things called stretch receptors. And when you stretch them, they actually tell the brain where you are in space. If the brain can't see an area, it will make the stretch receptor on the side that isn't working correctly tighter, so whenever you move, it can see what's going on. So what does that show up as? It's really, really tight here, doc, and it hurts. That means your brain can't see that area. So then literally what I do is I stimulate that stretch receptor, stimulate. The brain can see it, and then it will reset the muscles. The other thing that happens, though, is when you've been out of alignment for a long period of time, muscles will actually grow shorter because you're crooked. They'll grow shorter. Then we start stimulating the stretch receptor, and we have to actually stretch them. That's where the pain comes from. You're actually making the muscles get longer again, back to normal. But I hurt more, yeah, because the muscle's having to actually do what it should do, and it's actually doing full movement instead of just sitting there in spasm. When it sits there in spasm, it makes more lactic acid and will cause pain. So if you get physical pain, it's because the muscles are actually moving correctly. Does that make sense? So we got emotional, and we got physical, And then the last one is that one I spelled out, the Herxheimer reaction. This one is really interesting. This one means that when you kill off bacteria, viruses, or parasites, usually in the colon, the bacteria and virus will break down. And when it breaks down, let's say it's a circle, cut it into pieces, and it turns into little pieces. Well, on the outside of it, how your body tells if it's foreign or not is there are proteins on it. And the proteins are either marked as human body, which these aren't because they're bacteria and viruses or parasites, or foreign. So when they're foreign, the body sees it as a bacteria or virus. But when you kill it, it blows up and it shoots lots of these little particles everywhere. So your body believes it is being infected with hundreds of viruses or hundreds of bacteria. So what does it do? It sends out the cavalry. It sends out inflammation. It sends out white blood cells to attack that area. So you have just killed a bunch of bacteria in your gut. They've exploded. Now they're circulating throughout your body, and now your white blood cells go on all out attack mode. As well as inflammation goes up, because inflammation is good. It kills bacteria, viruses, and parasites. That's why your body makes it. Inflammation in short periods of time is healthy. Inflammation chronically is how you get sick and disease. So you have a flu, you want to have inflammation. That's how you kill stuff. You don't have the flu, you don't want inflammation. That's how you get autoimmune. That's how you get arthritis. That's how you get chronic disease problems. So we have all these little particles going around, and now your body starts attacking them. And what you need to understand is if you have any underlying inflammation in anywhere in your body, it will get worse. So what does that mean? I'll give you an example. Doc, whenever I eat gluten, my hands really, really hurt. That means you have inflammation in your hands, or you have an autoimmune to the cartilage in your hands. Or whenever I eat gluten, I get brain fog. That means when you eat the gluten, your immune system attacks it and attacks it. So if there's anywhere that you hurt more when you're sick, that's where there's still inflammation. You're like, oh, every time I get sick, my back hurts. That means chronic inflammation is going on there. Every time I get sick, I have brain fog. That means you have inflammation in your brain. Every time I get sick, my elbow hurts. Every time I get wherever it is, that's where the inflammation is that you need to put out. That's where we need to stop the problem from getting worse. But what happens with this Herxheimer reaction is all the little particles get spread out, and then your body starts attacking them, and then you can get symptoms like this. Fever, chills, sweating. Oh crap, I'm getting sick. No, you literally killed the bacteria and virus, and your body's taking it out. Headaches, muscle and joint pain, fatigue, nausea, inflammation, skin rashes, brain fog. The key to all of this is liver detox. If you're killing bacteria and viruses and you want to go after that, and we're helping you with that, liver detox will make sure you get all the bad stuff out of your blood quickly. Because the liver is the filter for the blood. Let me say that again. The liver is the filter for the blood. The other filter is the kidneys, but the liver gets rid of the major toxins. So you kill off a parasite, you kill off a bacteria, you kill off a virus, and all of a sudden you feel worse because we've been doing a parasite cleanse. You're not getting sick. You're actually getting rid of all the toxins. Make sense? So does feeling worse tell me you're getting sick? No, it just tells me you have something going on. And then we got to figure out what it is. Doc, I can't stop crying. You had a breakthrough. Now you're emotionally releasing. That's how I have the ladies look to see. Once the breakthrough happens, your body heals. Oh, I feel sore. It hurts more on this side than the other side. You made me worse. No, your muscles are actually stretching and you can feel it. Make sense? Or, well, you adjusted me and all of a sudden I got this fever. Yeah, now your body can actually attack the virus because it didn't see it before. Or we're killing off viruses and bacteria in your colon, getting rid of biofilm, and now you get a fever or headaches or muscle pain and aches. That's because your body's getting rid of it. The key for you to understand is, where do you get symptoms when you get sick? A cold, a bacteria, or a flu or a cold? Wherever you get that, that's what we need to help you fix. So if every time you get sick, you get brain fog, we got to put out the inflammation in your brain. If every time you get sick, you get pains and aches, we got to put out body inflammation. And we got to figure out what's driving it. The three major drivers are oxygen too low, blood sugars not right, and cortisol, HPA axis, hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis off. We go after those, we usually clear out everything else for you. Do we have any questions about why we would feel worse as we're healing? Yes, no. You don't want me to sing.
Does it go with also like menses when you get cramps in certain areas? Is that
So the question is, with menses, when you get cramps in certain areas, is this related? Yes, it means your liver is not detoxing the estrogen correctly, and you're literally getting the cramps because you have grown too much of the lining, the epithelial cell lining, and that's what's cramping you. So you've grown too much of E3 or estrogen 3, estradiol. If your liver's working correctly, when you go through menses, you should not have major issues. So what we want to do, if you're getting cramping with menses, it means our hormones are off. If you get PMS with menses, it means our hormones are off. The way to fix it is liver. So it's what we use is either Clearvite or Hepatosynergy, and then resveratrol. And it will actually help you get rid of the hormones correctly, so you don't grow the fibroids, the cysts, get too much of the hot flashes or colds or emotional instability. That's all estrogen levels being off. Because what's supposed to happen is you have a spike in estrogen grows, then estrogen is supposed to come down, and then you have a spike in progesterone, and progesterone holds. So the first half of the cycle you grow, the second half of the cycle you hold, then you got 3 days for implantation. If that doesn't happen, progesterone drips, and then everything goes. But if estrogen stays high the whole time, you keep growing. If estrogen stays high the whole time, you get emotional instability. If estrogen stays high the whole time, we have problems. And why would that happen? Our liver can't detoxify itself of estrogen, and so we have too much estrogen in our body. So examples of things that will grow if you have too much estrogen are reproductive hormone cancers, breast, ovarian, the real common ones. That's a liver issue because you're not getting rid of estrogen. Specifically, 4-hydroxyestrone and 16-hydroxyestrone. You don't need to know that, but that's what basically your liver's not getting rid of estrogen metabolites. And then those metabolites are what grow problems. If you have too much of those metabolites, which means they're not broken down the right way, the one you want is 2-hydroxyestrone. If they're not broken down the right way, you can use a product called glutathione and it will help you get rid of it. But if you're chronically stressed and you have too much estrogen, you've already burned out your glutathione, so now you don't have the reserve to get rid of the excess estrogen. Making sense? So what we want to do, if you're dealing with that, fix the liver, get rid of the stuff, and then we'll see PCOS get better, emotional stability come back, hormone shifts, the flashes, all that stuff decreases drastically. But if you want to know for sure, then what you do is you get checked in the end of your cycle, and we'll figure out if your estrogen is too high. So you get checked about a week before menses, and your progesterone should be high, but your estrogen should be low. But if your estrogen is high, it tells us why we had a problem. It means we're not metabolizing out estrogen correctly, and that's why we're getting an issue. That's liver. All right, time is up. I hope we learned something fun. Understand that how we feel just tells us Are we healing or not? It doesn't tell me if you're sick or not. The function does, the brain scan, the tests, the blood work, that will show me if you're actually healthy or sick. So I want to thank you all for being here. I want you to take this information to a friend or family member and have them understand that if they're actually healing correctly, they may feel worse for a short period of time. And understand that once you get through that short period of time, usually lasts a couple days to a week, then your body will get better. And it will actually heal because you're getting rid of the toxins, balancing the muscles, or removing that emotional trauma. As well as on the week of the 17, 18, 19, and 20, this is our patient appreciation week. So you have friends or family members who have been dying to get in, and I know you do. This is the deal week. This is the $20 deal. So have them call in, they'll get the full exam at that $20 fee. It is filling up, so I'd recommend phoning in quickly, but we'd love to take care of you guys. Think of that friend or family member, give us a ring. Look forward to seeing you guys. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Thanks.